Hi you guys, this class is going to be related to the topics that we have seen so far. We're gonna go through a little bit of review of the activities that we worked in class, and this one, as you see the meme, it's classes at school, no, and we're gonna have a virtual class. There you go. So now, on this presentation, we're gonna be working on a pretty simple stuff. Verb to be, singular and plural, as you can see right here. Verb, have, and the prepositions. Okay. So let's start with the presentation, and here we go. Now, verb to be. The verb to be is actually three of them, and as we can see right here, it's presented in different forms. The present simple, it depends on the number and the person of the subject. What do you mean? Well, I'll explain you in a moment. It's important that the verb and the subject agree. So at some point, we will need to have a relationship between the subject and the verb. Okay? So let me explain this a little bit more. Here is what I tell you. Now, these are the subjects right here. For the singular, I, you, he, she, and it. And as you can see, it is right next to it the verb to be. In this case, I am, which actually translates in Spanish, yo soy or yo estoy, in the first person as well. Now, for the second person, we have you and the verb to be, which is are, and it translates to eres or tu estás in the second person in Spanish. Now, let's go with the third. It is he is, she is, or it is. It translates él es o él está, ella es o ella está, eso es o eso está, which is actually the third person in Spanish. Pretty simple, right? So this is basically what we are going to work on this session. Now, what about this actually in the negative form and in the interrogative form, which is actually the question form as well. So let's take a look to the negative form. Negative form, it's actually the same for the first person, second person, and the third person. However, I'm going to add after the verb to be, I'm going to add the word not. You see? So the word not, it actually represents that we're talking about a negative form. So I am not, first person, you are not, second person, he is not, she is not, it is not in the third person. Now, what about the interrogative form? Well, it's actually backwards. We place the verb in the first place, and then we place the subject in the second place to create a question. Now, for the first person, you say, am I? Are you? Is he? Is she? Or is it? That is for the question form. Okay? That's only for the singular. Only for singular. Now we're gonna take a look to the plural. Now, plural in present. We say we are in the first person and it translates nosotros somos o nosotros estamos in the first person in Spanish. Same as you are for the second person, they are for the third person in English. Now in Spanish we have them as well and they translate right here. So far we have seen singular and plural form. Singular negative form and interrogative form. But what about the plural negative and the question form? Well, it's actually the same as the singular. We say we are not, you are not, and they are not. And for interrogative, we're gonna say are we, are you, or are they? Right? Now, we're gonna be checking some examples. So for the affirmative, we say I am in the park. So that is an expression to tell somebody that I am actually at a certain place. This translates yo estoy, as we were seeing the translation, Yo estoy en el parque. In the negative form, which is right here, I'm saying I am not in the park. Yo no estoy en el parque. And the interrogative form sería ama. Yo estoy en el parque. Alright, that is the example. Now, a quick grammar tip for you to keep in mind. Okay, don't forget it. We're gonna see some indefinite. Right here we have a and n. This actually translates un, uno, o una. Right? So it is a general rule that we use them in the following ways. So the first one, it's the first time that you mention or you refer to a noun. Remember that a noun translates sustantivo. So in this case, we say it's the first time you mention or you refer to a noun. Later, we will see an example. Second, to name a member of a group. So if I'm referring to somebody, I am going to use a or an. And also, when we are referring to the number one. Okay? So let's take a look to it. It says, I bought a new eraser yesterday. So this is an example for the first time you mention a noun. And right here it says I bought past a new eraser yesterday. Now for the second example, to name a member of a group, we say I am a teacher. And number three, when you also mean number one, I have to say I have a piece of bread. Okay? Don't forget it. That is for A and N. Now, we also have the possibility to see right here an explanation about it. Right here it says, let's take a look at it. So it says, we use them with vowels and consonants, which is actually in Spanish, these are the vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. Those are the vowels. And the consonants are actually the rest of the letters within the alphabet except by the vowels. So like for example, B, C, D, right? The whole alphabet besides the letters that we have right here, which are vowels. So N is actually used only with vowels. So whenever I have a noun, right? A noun, un sustantivo, that begins with a vowel, I'm going to say first N. For example, an apple, an egg, an iPad, an oven, an umbrella. As you can see, these nouns right here, they begin with vowels. So before it, I have the N. Now, for the alphabet, right? Any word that begins with a consonant, not a vowel. For example, a book, which is the letter B, a cup of coffee, a dog bone, a house, a town, or a drink. Now, be careful. There are some exceptions to this rule. Some words begin with the consonant letter but have a vowel sound. So, for example, M, right? MP3 player, it is supposed to be with A. However, since the first letter it's a vowel sound, we have to say N. Same as happens like university. For university, since the first letter is a U, right? It is supposed to be that we're gonna use N. However, since the sound sounds like a consonant, we have to use E, right? It actually happens the same with hospital. Okay? So keep that in mind. It's for the exercise that you have to develop. Now, verb have. It is really easy, really easy, really easy. Well, it's actually an auxiliary verb, but it actually relates to the possession of someone or something, right? One of its characteristics, it is that it changes on the pronoun that is conjugated. So the verb, it actually changes in the affirmative form for all of the pronouns. So it says, we use the verb have with the pronouns I, you, we, and they. And we have to change it for has with the pronouns he, she, and it. Alright? Let's take a look at it. So it's actually an expression, right? The verb express ownership of something. Now, have is used to express ownership and has. Alright? Don't get confused. We're gonna go through it. Here's the explanation. So for the pronoun I'm gonna say I have in the affirmative form. In the negative form, they all have the same verb. And right here, there's straight changes. Right? What happens in here is that since this is the verb and this is the auxiliary, do or doesn't already tells me that is a present. So I don't have to change the verb. In negative form, all are the same. And in the interrogative, it happens the same. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. They all have. The only thing is that I have to form it in the following way. For example, do I have? Do you have? Does he have? Does she have? Does it have? Do we have? Do you have? Or do they have? Okay? Got it. Now, final topic. We were actually working on this activity in class. It's related to the prepositions of place, which we already know. It's for us to express the position or the location of an object, person, or animal in a determined or in a specific space. All right? So let's review them. In, which is inside of something. On top of something. Under, it's below the object. Next to, it is the object, and next to, or next to. Then we also have behind, which is get behind the object. We also have in front of, and we have between. So let's suppose that my face is between my hands, alright? Okay. We have this. Now let's practice with a little bit of another exercise with animals. Alright, it says prepositions of place express the exact position of an element. Now, again, in, on, under, in front of, behind, next to. Now, what do you have to do? Basically, the activity right here, it is a little bit easy. You have the school places in the workbook, right? This is the book, page 28. What you have to do is to take a look at the picture, right? All the picture, and then relate the image with each of the names that you have right here. The art room, the auditorium, the bathrooms, the cafeteria, the classroom, the computer lab, the gymnasium, the laboratory, the library, and the music room. This for page 28. Page 29, you're not gonna do it. No page 29. Page 30, right here is just to review vocabulary, right? And basically it's to review what the vocabulary is about. So we have, lamp, eraser, pencil, MP3, chair, desk. Now, this is the explanation that I gave you related to A and N, right? Here the same, the verb have, the preposition. So complete this exercise. This one as well. Read the comic and complete it in here. So the school in the ancient, the school that you have right now, what they had, right? These activities right here. Finally, for the workbook, I would like you to please develop the activities that are in page 128 129,